Live from the City of Angels, Midnight Movie Money here on MMT this Sunday morning. We are first and we are always live. Let's go and do it and look at Superman in its second weekend. Nice hold, minus 54%. That matches Deadpool and Wolverine. That's a very encouraging sign for DC and Warner Brothers, obviously. And you can see that this film now is at $400+ million worldwide. We go directly to the Warner Brothers email here this morning. Thanks for being live here with Midnight Movie Money, $235 million domestic, international behind. That's where the issue is. If we were matching domestic, we would be encroaching $500 million. As it is, we're at $406.8 million because international is only at $171.8 million. This was down 54% in the second weekend. As I mentioned, tying Deadpool and Wolverine. That's a better hold than we typically see for superhero flicks. That is encouraging. And also, it shows that maybe we could have a little bit of a tussle next weekend when Fantastic Four comes into the marketplace. Now, what's interesting is that's a head-to-head competition, right? That film is actually looking at possibly $130 million opening for Fantastic Four, which would be bigger than Superman. And we'll get those real first reactions tomorrow night, not the faux wannabe fake critics out there that chimed in on Friday. We'll find out how strong that film is, but it is looking to trend bigger than Superman, at least debut opening weekend, and likely will do stronger overseas money. So that is where I think that film could do more damage. But also, when we talk about Superman here at $400 million worldwide, this is bigger than Thundercocks. That's what we call it here. And going to be bigger than Captain America Brave New World here very shortly. So all of this encouraging the top markets: UK 22.2 million, Mexico 16.6, Brazil 11.2, Australia 11, and China is the issue. China does not care for Superman. 8.5 million. That is not good, especially when you put it up against, and we go to Jurassic World, our number 2 film on the weekend, down 42%. That film is now at over $600 million globally. As I click the button to the Universal email here on this Sunday morning, and you can see it's the 6th Jurassic film to cross $600 million globally. And China, as I mentioned, China, this is doing much better than Superman. Do you want to see the Chinese money here? It is at $71.8 million versus $8 million for Superman. That's a beatdown, right? That's why Jurassic World is doing way better overseas. When you look at this, right, here's Jurassic World. You can see the snapshot on the international, domestic, and the global cash. International cash, $371.8 million. Domestic, $276.2 million. So there you go. You're $100 million roughly up on the international versus domestic versus Superman, which is down substantially on the international versus domestic. Worldwide on Jurassic World is 647. Let's just call it a $650 million. No way it gets to $1 billion. Obviously, we called that very early. There's just got to be fatigue that sets in when we were just doing this 3 years ago. But this is plenty enough cash for Universal to continue cranking out more dinosaur DNA. So don't think it's over, because it is definitely not over when you have a total of $650 million and climbing still this summer. Probably going to end up being the biggest hit of the summer from a global standpoint, unless Fantastic Four comes in and does something that we don't really expect. I think Fantastic Four, the ceiling for that film is 600, so we're already past that with Jurassic World. This will end up being a disappointing summer overall when it comes to box office receipts. You can see it here this morning, and you can see it in our number 3 film, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was very unimpressive as we go to the email from Sony here this morning, and I'll just read. It's not exciting to look at, so I'll just give you the highlights. $13 million. That is not impressive. Especially when you had this big-time push for this film with all the past stars coming back, the nostalgia play, and this only performed a little bit better than the average Sony horror film. And overall, listen, I've got the evaluation tonight. Sony cranks out direct when it comes to horror, right? This film is not good. Laughably ridiculous script. And then you throw in films like Thanksgiving, Tarot, Until Dawn, Heart Eyes. These are all awful, okay? Blumhouse and Sony in a race to determine who can make the worst horror film. Hopefully, Weapons can be the film that comes in this summer, ends up doing something that we didn't expect and being a great film. I mean, I do trust in Zach Cregger certainly more than I do in Jason Blum. Let's talk about Smurfs. $11 million. Who asked for this film? What is this, 1984? No. Why'd you do this? Now, when you see the international money is definitely better, double 22.6 for a global debut of 33.6. But either way, when you look at that domestic cash, no one wants to see the Smurfs. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. When I heard they were making this, I'm like, why? What? I mean, are the Smurfs big again? Did I miss something? This is what happens when they don't have any IP. The studios just keep digging and outfitting these old franchises and say, let's just make another one. And you're like, why? Just make something new. I mean, the thing is you take a big swing on a new original IP. I bet you it makes at least $11 million. And then maybe if it becomes a hit, you have a new IP to work with. But these studios just make the dumbest decisions. And here it is with Smurfs. Paramount, someone should be losing a job over this call, without question. F1, let's go back to the Warner Brothers email and get the latest numbers on that. Domestically, $9.6 million this weekend, only down 26%. Again, this film should be doing better stateside at $153.6. Really expected that to be $250 plus. It's not. So we're minus $100 million on the domestic cash. International's doing what I thought, 307.2. Now, here's the thing, right? When I said that F1 could beat Superman globally at the box office, I expected that stateside sales would be a lot stronger than half of what the international is. If domestic were even a little bit better, let's call it 200, 250, we might have an actual race between F1 and Superman, because then we'd be talking about 600 million. Superman looks like about 600 million. But because we don't have that stateside cash here for F1, you end up with $460.8 million on the global, which is impressive. This is an expensive film. It's not like they're going to break even on this alone. Remember, Apple fronted it. Warner Brothers said, we'll help you distribute it, and they get a little bit of a cut of it, but it's mainly Apple's cash, but it does make Warner Brothers look good. And let me tell you how it makes them look good. Go back up to the top of the email, and you can see all of the stuff they're pumping out here today from Warner Brothers. Number one studio in domestic market share in 2025, year to date. They are ahead of Disney. In your face Mouse House. That's what that is right there. 6 films open number one, more than any other studio year to date, with 9 weekends at number one. Can you name the smallest number one film they had this year? It's one of our favorite films of the year. Everybody, you better get this right. It was very early this year. Companion. Yep. I don't even need to do the research. I remember that, right? That's why you're with the Ace. Well, I mean, that website's retired. You're with Midnight Movie Talk, hosted by the Ace, Erick Weber. 5 films in a row that opened to $45 million, a first for any studio. You've got Minecraft, you've got Sinners, you've got Superman. What else? Whatever the other ones are, I'm forgetting. But I do remember Companion as one of our 6. Warner Brothers has more than 10 million plus grossing days this year than any other studio. So that's all fantastic news for the folks down the street here on Olive Avenue in Burbank, California, where I can walk. About a 10-minute walk from here. All right, let's look at Eddington. That film was very, very underwhelming. You know, Ari Aster gets this publicity like he's some kind of huge director that is uber successful. And then you look at an Eddington at 4.3 million, a film that we don't think is great. I mean, it's not nearly as awful as Beau is Afraid, but you look at 2,000 per location. That is very unimpressive. And yet, again, if you listen to the Sean Fennessys of the world, you're talking to Christopher Nolan. We're going to have some fun destroying Sean Fennessy tonight. That's going to be a fun night tonight. That might even be our highlight. I think we'll just go ahead and make that our highlight tonight because you know how much I really love that overrated voice. I think, honestly, in the history of any single facet that someone discusses, right, whether it's sports, economy, news, politics, whatever you want to talk about. In this case, film. Sean Fennessy is the most overrated voice in any area in the history of film and every other enterprise. Hey, Ringer folks, roll up, bitches. Yeah, baby, it's going to be fun tonight. Can't wait to see you back here. Box office top 10. Let's do it. Number 1 is Superman at $57.3 million, down 54% this weekend. Again, the global cash is over $400 million, but the international is much weaker than the domestic. Jurassic World Rebirth, number 2, $600+ million worldwide. Stateside, $276, doing better international, as we discussed earlier in this stream. Number 3, I Know What You Did Last Summer, is at $13 million. That is very unimpressive considering the amount of publicity and the hype they put behind that with the return of Freddie Prinze Jr. and everybody else. It just didn't work. And it's not a good film. We'll talk about that tonight. Smurfs is number 4. Again, $11 million. Incredibly disappointing. Why did you make that movie? F1, number 5, as we discussed, $460 million on the global cash. How to Train Your Dragons, number 6. Number 7 is Eddington, as we mentioned, another just forgettable debut for A24. Continues to struggle, right? When they go wide on a film and they don't platform it at first to get those really big PTAs and make it look like it's a successful film, then you end up with this at $2,000 per location. Elio is number 8, only $68 million on that film. I mean, that's less than half what some of the big Pixar films do in their debut weekend. Lilo and Stitch is number 9, now over $1 billion. We talked about that last weekend. It was going to get there. Well, it did get there, no surprise. And then 28 years later is number 10, as that film is one of the worst films of the year. I love Danny Boyle. You guys know that. But I'm not like our boy Sean Fennessy, who would just say it's great because Danny Boyle directed it, or say that Mickey 17 is spectacular because Bong directed it, or because Ari Aster, he wants to glaze him, says Eddington is the best film of the decade. Oh, man, dude, I can't wait for tonight. It's going to be my favorite. Of all the nights we do, trashing Sean Fennessy is the number one thing that I think will ever get done here on this channel. I am very proud of where we're headed. Superman won't hit 500 million. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I do know that Ringer is full of pretentious. The thing is that's the thing, dudes. People say, Weber, you're pretentious. Like, dude, I'm totally just like riffing on shit, okay? These guys, go watch. Just for fun today. Have fun, everybody. Go watch Sean Fennessy read and be shitty live. One of the worst. I mean, again, is such an untalented dude across the... And forget the taste. I'm sorry, guys, we're doing box office, but I'm getting ready for tonight, okay? And the thing is I've got all the Ringer bros who are so dumb. You look at these people and you're like, how do you think this is great? I mean, how do you even think this? The same people that probably thought Superman's a great film. Not a great film. We've had a bad summer overall, right? I mean, you look at the best films of the year, and I don't think I have one from this summer. I mean, I didn't hate Materialists. You go back and you look at Sorry Baby from A24, not a hit, but I mean, a decent film. But we've just had a pretty bad year when you look at 2025 from a creative standpoint. Certainly, we haven't had the best film of the decade this summer, as opposed to what others will tell you. I think this film gets to at least 550 when you talk about Superman. More than likely closer to 6, but Listen, again, that international cash is worrying, and then Fantastic Four is coming in next weekend, so we're going to see it start to drop big time. It'll not hold nearly as well next weekend, obviously, when you get that head-to-head. Also, the other thing's going to happen, Superman, is you lose those IMAXs, the PLFs. So once that is gone, you can't make as much per seat. Obviously, you don't have that additional component of PLF. So without that, your cash is going to drop regardless, and then you have a film that is clearly head-to-head, another CBM. Rarely do we have two CBMs in the marketplace at the same time, and that is what's going to be really curious to see unfold next weekend when we talk about Fantastic Four. And tonight, we will discuss that battle in addition to Sony's decision / Nintendo to make the right call for Zelda. That's no question was the smart play, and we are going to discuss that tonight in addition to hammering fantasy, the biggest fraud ever in the history of film criticism. That's going to be fun tonight. I'll see you back here live. I'm off to the beach. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Peace out.